when you're moving from place to place. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers. We're just at about 7:35 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julien Skeete with you here this morning, and we're heading on in to our next interview with Rodney Piggott, chairman of the Tobago CivilNet. And I know commonplace we hear Tobago CivilNet, and actually it's the Tobago Civil Society Network, commonly known as CivilNet. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Julian.
All right. So as we get the conversation started this morning, before we dive on into this second annual survey, I'd really like you to just, provide us for the benefit of those viewers and listeners. We may have some tuned in for the first time. In fact, I see this morning we have on with us Big Brother. Good morning, beautiful people. Love from Lagos, Nigeria. So for the benefit of those viewing far and wide, just tell us a little bit in terms of summary. Who is the Tobago CivilNet organization?
CivilNet, Julian, is your proverbial homegrown, grassroots civil society organization. And I say all that to say this, that it started around the living room table of one Mr. Reginald Phillips. This was back in 2017. We weren't CivilNet then, we were just an ad hoc. A group of us came together and decided, look, let's come together regularly and talk about Tobago matters and how we, as the ordinary citizens, the man on the ground, the grassroots, can literally help in furthering Tobago's ambitions. And that's how we started. Gathered around the table with the likes of Elder Reginald Dumas, Vanas James, part of that, Reginald Phillips, Mervyn O'Neill, myself, and Winston Dillon. Right?
Winston,
he was there, he was there with us also. And we would gather there every week and just talk about Tobago matters. This was back in 2017. At one point, we brought Dr. Ralph Gonzalez here. We weren't yet an organization, and we brought him here. I believe that was like around 2018, 2019 or so. We got very much involved in the autonomy talks back in, I believe, 2018 or so. And then when 2020 came, it put a halt to our physical gatherings because the pandemic took place. And at that point, I had already begun to bring in some young blood because it was all elders. I was the youngest person in that gathering, right? And so we decided, look, let's start bringing in some young blood, because if this thing is to continue, we need to be able to pass the baton to the younger generations and so forth. And some younger people came in, Ryan Allard, Xavier Edwards and so forth, Hannah Alfred came in, Sean Biggett Hutchison came in and started being part of that gathering. And then back in 2020, when we could no longer gather physically, that's when the young people took over and said, well, we don't have to stop. We could do this virtual. And then the virtual took off from there. The Zoom meetings and so forth took off from there. We would gather. We prosecuted the Get 2020, where we brought all the parties together to face the people. So that began now our signature way of dealing with these political campaigns, is to not just have the parties separate talking to the people from their podium, their bully pulpit, but literally to bring them together to face the people as one. And so we started that. We did that very successfully for the Get 2020. And then, of course, the T.H.A. 2021 rolled right behind that in January. And we did the same sort of progress with that, where we brought the parties together. Of course, one party decided that they didn't want to be a part of it, but the other parties did, and we were very successful with that. We capped that off with a chat with the chief, sort of mirroring the presidential debates they had, but it wasn't a debate, it was more of a conversation with the chief. And then, of course, we got involved with the 6-6 impasse, pressing for that to be settled and so forth and so forth. Got right back involved with the autonomy drive again that came out in 2021, and then dovetailed into T.H.A. 2021 in December. And of course, coming out of that now, so that people don't think that we're a political organization, our ambition, of course, is to deal with matters or what we call areas of people activity, all areas of people activity in Tobago, where politics is simply one of those areas. But during that time, it was the most central thing taking place in the island. And to some degree, it still is. It still has that position as this is the only thing going on in Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, is politics. But it isn't. And so we got involved with the education. We formed the education committee. And we have now formed a health committee, Holistic Health Awareness Tobago Committee, where we're now looking to prosecute those matters in terms of moving into all areas of people activity. On our agenda, we have, looking forward in January, we have looking at a civil society crime summit that we're planning now, in the throes of planning that. And along with the Tobago Council of Elders, we're also planning a Tobago convention, looking at Tobago from yesterday, today, into tomorrow. So again, we're a civil society organization and registered as an NGO, non-governmental, non-partisan, non-religious, just homegrown civil society.
And it's important to make that that connection very quickly there. But just before we continue with this morning's interview, folks, we take a quick break. So we remind you to, we're going to be right back, but remind you to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julien Skeete, and we continue the conversation this morning with Rodney Piggott, chairman of the Tobago CivilNet. And we just started the conversation where we spoke very broadly in terms of establishing, and for the benefit of those tuned in, who is the Tobago CivilNet. We want to dive right on in. We are seeing the execution of this second annual survey, and this would have started last year, looking at a capture and so on. So we want to start off by getting a sense from you. What are some of the changes or the improvements that have come along with this second annual survey based on your experiences coming out of the first?
Excellent question. One of the changes is last year we captioned it as a poll. And it's not a poll, it's actually a survey, learning the difference between a poll and a survey. So this year it's a survey. We also got rid of the word citizens, since we're dealing with the Tobago sphere. According to our elder, he's an ambassador, he knows all about these things. He denoted that a citizen belongs to the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. So you're a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. You'll be a resident in Trinidad or a resident in Tobago, but you can't be a citizen of Trinidad. And you can't be a citizen of Tobago. You have to be a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. So we got rid of the word citizen and put in Tobago resident in there. We also broadened the divisions. Last year, I think we focused on about 4 or 5 divisions. Those are the hot button divisions, so to speak, the ones that are constantly in the news and on the front pages and so forth. And so this year we decided to provide all of the divisions for persons to give their opinions and perceptions on and so forth. So those are the major changes in this one. What we really did was repeat a lot of the questions from last year. So we can now look and see a measurement between how we rated last year and how it's going to be rated this year and so forth.
All right. Tell us the period of consideration that this second annual survey will cover, and further to that, how long will it be open? I know it was launched yesterday, Monday, yes. Right? And therefore tell us the period that it will cover in terms of the period under consideration that persons are assessing. Yes. And then further to that, how long is the survey going to be open to allow persons to have their input?
Right. So we saved from December 2022 to December 2023. In reality, it's December 12th, right, 2022, because according to what we understand, that's a date that they were actually inaugurated as assemblymen. So from December 2020 to December 2023 is really the caption period that we're going for. And it was launched yesterday, and it will run until January 20th, 2024. So that gives people a lot of time. We're in the holiday season now. People are not going to be focused on any surveys or anything of that nature. Very few people probably will be. And then going into the new year, you have your New Year celebrations for that first week. So this gives persons a lot of time to really interact with the survey.
All right. And just tell us a little bit, how can persons access the survey this time around?
Very good. We have, well, last year we did online, right? So we're strictly online last year. This year, we decided to also have paper surveys available. So we printed a number of paper surveys. So persons can, one, go online. They can go to the Tobago CivilNet Facebook page, where they will see the link to the survey itself. They can call me, myself, at 323-1958 and request a paper survey. This is for persons who don't have access to online, or they can simply send an email to tobagocivilnet@gmail.com and request a paper survey. We're also encouraging persons who have library cards, for instance, go to the library and use the computer at the library to get online if you don't have the device yourself. I don't know about the community centers, whether or not they have computer services at the community centers. If they do, that will also be a good place for persons who don't have their in-home computer service. They can go into those places and use the online service. So there's a variety of ways now that people have, more than just that one way we stipulated last year, that they could actually get involved with this survey.
All right. And just to add there very quickly, through youth development centers, as you mentioned, spaces where there is access, and also 211. And these are spaces, I know 211 has IT sites and spaces around the island. So good avenues for persons that's open to the public. These entities have access to the public, and certainly you can also utilize those as avenues when you go to get your regular services from these entities. Once they're open, to make sure and just use the link and log on to get yourself connected. So as you mentioned, we've got the library that has access for persons. We've got youth development, community development spaces, and we've also got through 211. There's spaces out there where persons are able to have wide access. They are not agents of the Tobago CivilNet, but we're simply mentioning these entities in Tobago as spaces where you can go and seek to access internet services, as far as I am aware, at no cost, no additional cost to the Tobago resident. So what we want to just go into a little further very quickly, because we don't have too much time this morning. What are you hoping ultimately to achieve out of this second survey, different from what took place in terms of the first? What's your overall hope and objective?
Well, for one, I would like to see more youth involved. We've noticed a trend where when it comes to these, with surveys, pretty much, we don't get a lot of youth involvement in them. And a lot of these things, quite frankly, Julien, is done for the youth. They're the ones coming up behind. They're the ones that are going to be building on whatever foundation is laid down now. And this survey is really simply a tool for civil society to use to really speak back to the persons that they elected, nominated to go into office, and give them their opinions, perceptions on how I think you're doing in there on a year-to-year basis, right? It's not a scientific survey. It's really an opinion perception. So we really want the youth to get involved in a mass way and share their opinions and perceptions on what they think or how they feel about the performance of their T.H.A. elected officials. And this will encourage the youth to actually take a more day-to-day stance in the society, as opposed to reactionary, waiting for something to happen and then, what happened to the youth? Why didn't you give this to the youth? Why didn't you get the youth involved? Well, we need the youth to actually step up and take the reins, if you will.
Excellent.
And so this is what this provides.
Excellent. We want to say thank you very much again, Rodney Piggott, Chairman of the Tobago CivilNet, for joining us here in studio this morning on the Tobago Updates morning show. And viewers, we want to remind you, the mass of you on. Please get things started. Get things started. We've got a responsibility to ensure we put our voices there, we make that connection, and we hold those who sit in office responsible. And certainly this is one of the avenues by which you have the opportunity to provide feedback. So I'm calling on the 100 plus that's on at the moment. I want to ask each and every one of you, by the time we wrap here this morning, you could take a quick break when we are heading out and certainly head on over to the Tobago CivilNet. On Facebook, it's Tobago CivilNet, and there's the link there that's ready for you now that you can feel free to utilize. Click on the link and have your voice added, have your opinion added. So certainly when we get the overall assessment come January, which I know Rodney Piggott will be back with us to have discussions on, we'll certainly begin to get that wider cross section and that wider perspective in terms of how we view things. And it's a plus for the simple fact that it gives you the avenue to have that input beyond just outside of the 4-year period in the case of the T.H.A and the 5-year period in the case of the governance of Trinidad and Tobago. So once again, we want to say thank you very much, and viewers, we want to thank you for connecting with us here on the Tobago Updates morning show. We're going to leave it here for this morning as we continue to enjoy this season, Christmas time, New Year time, all excitement in the spirit of the season. And we want to remind you, continue to be safe on the outside there, stay connected, because we're heading on over to Tobago Notes, then followed by GMT. But we want to say thank you very much for tuning in and connecting with us here for the Tobago Updates morning show. And as such, we say bye-bye for now. And remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.